What's his face's presentation? Thanks, dude, for the awesome throwover. Let's go. It's my IRL, Killian. We'll go with that. Or you call me Kill for short. Whatever. Killer man, you could do better than that, buddy. That's a lot of extra syllables for no reason. We're just launching in with some music, as I always do. Hello, Valerie over on YouTube listening in. Good to see you, Val. Thanks for being here, friend. Hope all is well with you. Thanks for being here, Val. Appreciate you as always. We got everybody hanging out. We got the community over on Discord chilling out. We got myself, what's up, hanging out over on YouTube, and Valerie being in the chat. Hope audio is coming through for everybody okay with music and everything. Let me know. Feel free to chat it up, guys. We're just cooling out right now with the intro. Hope everybody's having a great day. Thanks
Today I was talking about eating bugs and meat, so meh.
Thanks. I almost spat out my beer I was about to sip on.
Hey, you said you talked about law every day, and I didn't bring it up today. I brought up eating bugs and the fact that the state really didn't have a whole lot of fruit here. We ate meat. I'm just correcting the record, loggers. Besides, I'm a big boy. I can go buy my own gold stars.
Great track, found it today. Catching Flies, Satisfied. Nice little sample in there too. On with the show. So here's my little idea. MRIs in the moon. How? So some of you guys may know, may not know, I have multiple sclerosis. Was diagnosed back in 2004. Clinically, or 2005 actually, sorry, and went through the process of being investigated, so on and so forth. But one of the things that they do is they ship you into an MRI a machine. So MRI stands for magnetic resonance imaging. So it takes a scan of the body. So that kind of keyed in on my interest as to how this could potentially be based on the observation of the moon and how it presents and things of that nature. Who am I? I am Killian Weeks, your host here on YouTube, Book of Killian. Also hanging out on Discord, Anti-Disinfo League. Hanging out with the family as always. If anybody wants to join up, hit the link, we can share it with you. So, what you see pictured in front of you is in fact the moon. We see it for what it is. It has a series of dark spots on it. Series of light spots on it as well. Interestingly, hey mom, my mom's in the chat on YouTube. Shout out mom, thanks for being here mom, appreciate you mom. Next image, we've lightened up the light spots, if you will, and darkened up the dark spots, if you will, provided a little bit more contrast. And this is all through Vibes of Cosmos, their presentation. I just have taken their information and obviously repackaging it for our consumption for a little better, deeper understanding perhaps. And then the interesting thing is what happens with the moon is over distance, and again I refer to this quite often, when we played with a magnifying glass when we were a child, we could magnify the things that were in front of us, excuse me, figure out what they were, so on and so forth, or sorry, what they say, so on and so forth. Now, if you take that magnifying glass and extend your arm out, we know that it would flip the image over. Now, this is something that we observe with the moon. So this was one thing that kind of keyed in my mind to start thinking, okay, what is the potentiality that this is something that's actually happening over distance, like the image is being flipped over? And that's in fact what is presented. Is like, you guys know I talk about the idea that at the 2 o'clock position, you see my cursor, you have Australia here, and then you go to the next, so you flip it over, go to the next image, Australia goes to the 4 o'clock position down here. Now, again, we take the light spots, we convert the light spots to blue, we take the dark spots, we convert those to green, and we end up with this. You guys know I talked about this. This is the idea, the meat and potatoes behind this being the moon map. Now, my claim, again, to simply state that the moon presents an inverted floor plan of the plateau which we dwell upon. Simply stated, without poisoning the well, just observing what the moon shows, what I understand it to show, which is Australia, and then further unpacking the other locations through identifying where Australia is, you're able to then go through and figure out Eurasia, the North American Strait, or the American Strait, sorry, Africa, so on and so forth. Now, to further just be specific about what is a floor plan, if the floor plan to this place that we dwell upon is in fact shown in the moon. A floor plan is a scale diagram of a room or building viewed from above. The floor plan may depict an entire building, one floor of a building, or a single room. It may also include measurements, furniture, appliances, or anything else necessary to the purpose of the plan. And there in front of you, you see a floor plan. Now, what's interesting about the floor plan is it only gives you the bird's eye perspective of the building. They've cut the building in half, cross section, across we call it the floor plate when we're looking at these things, we call them the floor plate. And what's interesting is all of these dimensions, 51 feet, 13 foot 6, 7 feet, 30 foot 6. These are all specifically relative to the point, i.e. the perspective is from the very tippy top, a 2D perspective. There's no third perspective in what a floor plan is. Now, the floor plan of the realm that we dwell within, being shown in the moon, shows again blue being the water, the green, dark green being the land. Now, if you also observe the green lines that are shown, those would be the flight paths, suspected flight paths. I say that obviously respectfully. But then on top of that, we have a linear grid laid on top of that plan that has a scale associated with it, 1,000 kilometers. So if we have the time and go through it and analyze it, we can start to say, okay, well, if I'm going from, let's say, somewhere in South America, and I'm heading over to somewhere in, let's say, oh man, testing my map skills here. Where are we going to go? Australia? Nope. Somewhere in Africa. Eurasia. No, not Eurasia. That's over here. The UK. So going from South America to the UK, and then we start counting the grids. So we start counting the squares. So as we count the squares, obviously they're not perfect because they're going across a triangle, but we count these squares and then we figure out how many kilometers are between those two spots, and then we figure out how long the plane is in the air for when it's flying from the two destinations, assuming that I think that 747 has an average flight speed of 650 kilometers an hour. So South America over to somewhere in the UK, how long that would take, and start to see if this actually has some meat and potatoes behind it, which again, for us to be off by maybe an hour or two would be pretty interesting. But I don't want to further digress too further on the idea of this being the map of the plateau. Now, to specifically show where all the different locations are, the world's map in the moon, Australia being at the 2 o'clock location, as I say, skipping over this landmass here and going over to this spot, you've got the Americas, North America, South America, and the Caribbean connecting the two. And then over here you would have Eurasia, and then over here you would have Africa. How does an MRI machine work?
MRI is a medical imaging device commonly used to examine the soft tissues of the human body. Let's meet the machine. The key components are the magnet, radio waves, gradient, and a computer. Our bodies are made up of 60% water, and water is magnetic. Each of the billions of water molecules inside us consists of an oxygen atom bonded to 2 hydrogen atoms. We know it as H2O. Small parts of the hydrogen atoms act as tiny magnets and are very sensitive to magnetic fields. MRI stands for magnetic resonance imaging, and an MRI scanner is one of the main diagnostic tools that doctors use to examine inside our bodies. The first step in taking an MRI scan is to use a big magnet to produce a unified magnetic field around the patient. The gradient adjusts the magnetic field into smaller sections of different magnetic strengths to isolate specific body parts. For example, the brain. Normally, the water molecules inside us are arranged randomly, but when we lie inside the magnetic field, most of our water molecules move at the same rhythm or frequency as the magnetic field. The ones that don't move along the magnetic field are called low-energy water molecules. To create an image of a body part, for example the brain, the machine focuses on the low-energy water molecules. Radio waves move at the same rhythm or frequency as the magnetic fields in an MRI machine. By sending radio waves that match or resonate with the magnetic field, the low-energy water molecules absorb the energy they need to move alongside the magnetic field. When the machine stops emitting radio waves, the water molecules that had just moved along the magnetic field release the energy they had absorbed and go back to their position. This movement is detected by the MRI machine, and the signal is sent to a powerful computer, which uses imaging software to translate the information into an image of the body. By taking images of the body in each section of the magnetic field, the machine produces a final three-dimensional image of the organ, which doctors can analyze to make a diagnosis. MRI is a medical imaging device commonly used to...
So that was my thought, that if we're working with magnets and this idea of an electromagnetic type of charged system, that if we have the presence of some kind of, let's say it is in fact the ether, and the ether, and it manifests itself through the medium, i.e. radio waves, things of that nature. I don't know if that's a reach. Say that respectfully, questioning the idea. But then also taking the idea that we observe magnetism in this idea that's also there. So I'm wondering if we have this lower light source being the black hole sun, and then it interacts with the surface that we dwell upon. And then again, the creator was so magnificent in his creation that creates a projection in the ceiling of the firmament that we look upon. Yo, Jackie, checking in on YouTube. Good, thanks for being here, family. Appreciate you. So this is just a little image I threw up with the coil, the helix, the coil showing beneath the surface being the black hole sun, and that shining up through the crust, and then the interaction with the dome, and it through a process of refraction creating the sun and the moon, depicted on the plane, of course. Now I've been talking about this whole idea, and I think it was Tora recently mentioned in chatting that the idea that we live in the crater of a crater on the moon. This is something that came forward that I think may provide a little bit of guidance with respects to this, and I want to take a couple minutes just to share it from Vibes of Cosmos's model. Appreciate Vibes of Cosmos as always.
Oceanographia, stars. Studying oceanography from the map of the moon, we found that the points of the oceans characterized as super deep, as well as other energy points of the Earth, align with the constellations and generally the stars in the celestial electromagnetic dome. Essentially, there is an imprinting of these points in the etheric field above. This happens a layer above that where the sun and moon are created. The imprint here is simple, proportional, and not concentrated as in that of the moon. So, in the electromagnetic dome, on this layer, we can see again the map of the Earth if we match each star with each energetic point that causes it. In this case, we see a part of the total map, almost half, on the entire celestial electromagnetic dome in the starprint layer.
Yeah, thought that was kind of dope. Figured I would throw that in for consumption purposes, but yeah, thanks for being here, guys. That concludes my presentation on the idea of MRI, magnetic resonant imaging, and it presenting itself, manifesting itself, if you will, through the, I think, would it be the propagation of the medium within the closed system? I'm not sure if that was a word salad, but I'm thinking that might be it. But I just want to take an opportunity to open up the floor to any discussion points or any thoughts on the subject. Anybody, please feel free. What are your thoughts?
Well, I thought that was interesting because that's something similar to what I saw in a meditation that I believe way back when I tried to explain to Shane, and that's where he started doing his little azimuthal grid thing from. I was
Yep.
explaining that, and then that's where he got his idea from.
Yep. I remember. I concur.
Yeah.
Cool. Because the idea is obviously like, and Shane, the complete description would be an electromagnetic system. Would you say that's fair, or what are your thoughts on that?
For what? What complete system?
The system that we're in, like we talk about taking things up, getting some kind of a charge, releasing them, observing that charge that you give them, things of that nature.
Oh yeah, like everything is electromagnetic, I think. So yeah, that would be the nature of the system. The nature of all the fundamental forces that's behind everything.
Right. Okay. So if we take the idea that it's electromagnetic, and we have the principle of magnets, and then we have this machine that works on that principle, and then a question being to you, how do you think that radio waves would propagate themselves? Correct me if that's the wrong word, but through the ether.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, right. That's how they misinterpret photons as little particles popping around when they're really just the intersection of those two magnetic and electric field lines as an event.
Okay, so from that, I'm thinking, if we have this, to me, that would be the first two things. So radio waves, and then we have the idea that the moon's flipping itself as you observe it off in the distance, along with magnetism backing you up. Like, hey, an MRI machine. Wouldn't that be cool? But the next part of that, and this is where things get, I start to ask the question is it active, like a real-time floor plan, or is it an image from back in the day? So I start to think, like, Shane, anybody here, the celestial bodies we use, well, not we use, but back to the 1500s, when captains on ships would navigate, they would all use the celestial bodies to navigate, to get them to their places using sextants, calculations, things of that nature, correct?
Yep.
So it's safe to say that the celestial bodies were an active, reliant thing that they would use to make sure that they would get to and fro accordingly. So, like, I think, okay, cool. So celestial bodies, they were all created on the fourth day. The sun, the moon, all the stars, fine, cool. Park that car for a quick sec. And then say, if the celestial bodies are active to the point that I can use them to navigate, then why wouldn't the moon also be active as well?
Why wouldn't they use the moon to navigate? Is that what you're asking?
No. The celestial bodies are used to navigate, right? But the question has come about, is the moon an active, like, shot of what's actually happening, or is it of, like, a world from years ago? That's what I'm saying. See what I'm saying?
Well, then it's definitely like a snapshot from before because it has all the continents and land masses. But like the presence of Lemuria above water would be weird, right? Because we can't see that, and that's obviously sunken. So maybe it's from before.
How do we know that we can't see it? That's a question. I appreciate that question because that's a very
How do
valid
we
question.
how do we know Lemuria isn't a giant continent above water between somewhere out there in the Pacific?
Yeah. Has there been ever? Has there been ever? Has,
Well, to be a glober, I guess somebody would have said something right by now. If they were like, "Hey, there's a whole piece of landmass that everyone flies over and around, so we just wanted to let you guys know, it's there." I mean, I think that it's a good chance it's probably just beneath the waves, and that's how that map makes sense to me.
but like, if we go back to this map, I don't know if you're looking at my stream still. But there's no flight paths, and again, we're entertaining this for what it is, right? And we're walking with this model for what it is. But there's no flight paths that actually show it going over Lemuria.
Oh, isn't it the Lemuria is the big continent right above to the like northeast of Australia,
The 3 o'clock position,
right? Yes.
and there's no
So
green
yeah,
lines that lead over it, right? There's ones that come within close proximity. Now again, and guys, like, not afraid to ask a stupid question. What if it's just been hidden? What if it's actually flicking there? And I'm not afraid to ask the question.
it is interesting that there's no flight paths. But you feel like people driving ships around the sea would feel like they would have run into that landmass, right? Because they'd go from what's the right side of Australia called again? I forget. From there to like
New Zealand. There's New
yeah,
Zealand. There's
from there to go
the
to New
Bass
Zealand,
Strait.
and then it's right in front of New Zealand.
But you've also got it in, like, you got to think about, like, look at. I have no idea what this island is. I think it may be Hawaii. Yeah, this would probably be Hawaii. But like, what would be the sight line from Hawaii? Let's say south. Which way are we going? Southwest. Yeah, southwest. And what's their distance? Their sight lines that they could see to, because they're the only people that could come close to being able to see this coast. Because this would be, again, North America, and if you want to get to Hawaii, you fly west, which would be this way.
What are those smaller islands that are down there
Down
on the
here.
other side that have some flight plate? No, keep going. Yeah, that. What is that?
This
That
is
looks a little
Australia,
closer.
New Zealand. You got the Bass Strait. I just like saying the Bass Strait. Not that you could land a plane on the Bass Strait, because that would be bad news. But yeah. But
So is New Zealand not the closest then?
well, right
Oh.
here, yeah. I mean, you would think so. But I mean, like, really, I'm not gonna make a big deal for. We're talking about half an inch, really, at the end of the day, from this scale, which is probably about based on this. Yeah. This is 500 kilometers. Based on this scale, this is about 500 kilometers. So the question is, can you see? Is there a viewing device that can see 500 kilometers? Because then, like, I'd be shouting out to Noah and be like, "Hey, Noah, can you look due southwest for me and let me know if you can see land, please? Thanks, appreciate you." I love this stuff. But yeah, so is Lemuria hidden? That's a question. Because this doesn't depict that. I have the maritime boat map. I got to pull that out for another presentation.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Let me get to it because it's worth it doing now. Bear with me. Can you guys still see my share or no?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So that flight pass over the moon. Yeah, there's one. So here we go. This is interesting too. So check this out. The Antarctica Treaty. Oh shit. There we go. Oh, damn it. Sorry, guys. So I don't really care about it. So Antarctica, based on if it was actually a continent, would look like the thing on the right-hand side. Fine, big whoop-de-doo. The seventh continent doesn't actually exist. There's only 6. Now, when you look at the Antarctica Treaty as represented on the moon map, it's littered with locations at Lemuria. We've got, again, Australia would be at the 3 o'clock position right here. and then you would just go up, and this would be Lemuria. So my question is, if this land is sent, if this land is sunk, why do you need to own it, countries?
How is that possibly Antarctica when Lemuria is like at about the same latitude as Australia?
Hold on. Sorry, where? Or what?
Right. So like, how can Lemuria be contrived as part of Antarctica, which you'd have to be to have these Antarctic bases, you know, when you do the transformation that, you know, the Gleason transformation that makes the ball a flat map, but it keeps all the longitude things. How could you have a continent north of Australia have bases of Antarctica on it?
Imagine controlling the boundaries of that landmass and making it part of a circle. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I'd like to see like the transformation of this flat to globe. Like, you know how it does that back and forth, like flatten the globe and it flattens out, and it
Oh, I
circles
see
the
what you're
globe and
saying.
flattens out.
Yeah, okay,
I
okay.
want because I want to see where it lands on the globe.
So, okay. I see what you're saying. Okay, so this is what we can do here. See this here? This is the peninsula that everybody visits, and they say this is the Antarctica. This is the point. You agree with that?
Is that the Lemuria point?
No, let's forget about the Lemuria
Oh.
thing. Let's just talk about the commercially sold Antarctica, the southern point that everybody goes. So everybody goes to South America, and then they take a plane ride and then a boat ride to the commercial point of Antarctica, and they're like, "This is the South Pole. This is the spot here." Do you know this?
Yeah, but when you take that spot on the bottom of a globe and you flatten it out, that edge ends up fitting in perfectly with a sticking out like peninsula that is the ring of Antarctica, right? That's why it makes sense. And
Right,
that's why the other one doesn't make sense to me.
right. But what I'm getting to is that if we can locate this point on the map, on the moon map, we can kind of then start walking the perimeter and figuring out like how this correlates onto the moon map. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is this point here over to where this red circle here is where the Newman the third weather station is. Pardon me. So let me see here. This would be here. This red dot. Hold on, bear with me. Eurasia, South Africa. No. Sorry. Africa. Then you gotta go west. So the Newman weather station is somewhere around here. So this yellow. Okay, I know, my bad. So this German map here, right? This German flag here. This yellow dot would be right here. And then you would go. Let me see. This way, so clockwise, and on this map you would go this way. Is that making sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so basically think of a piece of pie with a central point and everybody owning a piece of that pie around the perimeter. But in actuality, they all own the outer perimeter of a leash, if that makes sense. I struggle with explaining that correlate, but like completely. But like, if you were to connect these dots, there we go. If you were to connect these dots, you would basically make a circle, and then you would take that circle and it would wrap and create this profile in a way. I should take this and sketch something. I will. But yeah, so back to the sorry.
It's okay.
So yeah, back to the Lemuria. Hey, appreciate that. What the hell? Oh no, this just went crazy. I don't know what the hell I did. Sorry guys. Didn't mean to do that. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that for now. thanks for being here, listening to me blunder through an idea that I put on the floor for consideration. Appreciate you guys as always. I'm gonna cut the stream now on YouTube.